You want to die tonight?
You are now listening to Home of Halloween's You Run podcast, the horror movie review podcast run and controlled by you, our listeners. I'm Scott, and I'll be your host each week as I take you through the movies you've chosen for me to review. Now, let's find out what I'll be reviewing this week.
I just can't take no pleasure in killing. There's just some things you gotta do. Don't mean you have to like it.
Hello, and welcome to the show. This week is Summer Slashers Week, and you are in for such a treat. I've got such a good episode lined up. So to start off with, I get to review the 1974 Texas Chainsaw Massacre, one of the few movies from the 70s that is as good today as the day it was released. And there's only a handful of movies that can claim that. After I've reviewed that, my guest today is Hilton Ariel Ruiz, who is the creator of Zombie with a Shotgun, 6666, and various other web series and movies. And he's a great guy, full of information, full of facts. He's going to give his thoughts on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then we're going to talk about what Hilton's got coming in the future. Not only that, he's going to take on the quiz. He's going to see if he can be the person to knock Bruce Martin off the top. Bruce has held the top spot since episode 4, when we done the Jaws review, another movie from the 70s that holds up today. I think Hilton might be the one. Hilton might be the one to knock Bruce off the top, but we'll find out later in the show. Let's play the trailer, and then I'm going to tell you all about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
What happened was true. The most bizarre and brutal series of crimes in America. This is the movie that is just as real, just as close, just as terrifying as being there. Even if one of them survives, what will be left? The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. After you stop screaming, you'll start talking about it.
Let's kick this off with some scores. A score fear, first of all, 1 to 5. I'm not going to explain how 1 to 5 works. I'm pretty sure you've got it. This score's a straight 5. This is possibly one of the scariest movies ever made. Without a shadow of a doubt in my mind, this movie is terrifying. The premise for it is so scary because it's something that you could naturally stumble on, this scenario. You'd have to be a bit of a nosy, trespassing fucker to stumble onto this, but it is possible. And the way that they deliver the fear and the intensity and the scares and the jump scares in this movie is so scary, and it keeps you on the edge of your seat from the second it starts. You feel uncomfortable, and that uncomfortable, unnerved, I don't like this feeling follows you throughout the entire movie. And there's really not many movies that could do this. This is a contender for the greatest horror ever made, for Fear. I'm going to score the film itself 1 to 10. And again, this score's a perfect 10. This is the perfect horror movie. And there is probably only one other horror movie, maybe two, that are even in contention with this. This is so good. The direction by Tobe Hooper is outstanding. Every single thing he shows you on camera is shown to you for a reason. Every little detail is to make you feel that little bit more uncomfortable, that little bit more unnerved. And just that tension builds all the way through. And when they hit you with a jump scare or a scene that's particularly disturbing, it comes out of nowhere. And the reason for that is there's a lack of musical score in this. It has some sound effects. And these are the sound effects that you would get inside a slaughterhouse. So there's no sort of... What you'd get in a normal horror movie is you get a theatrical score that will build as they're building tension, and then when you get the jump scare, you'll get the big boom or the big doo-doo on the music. In this, you don't get that. So when there is a jump scare, it literally comes out of fucking nowhere. You're sat there quite happy going, I don't like this is quite unnerving, to fuck, what happened? Shit. And they're so good. The best jump scares of any horror movie from the 70s. I would argue possibly any horror movie ever. The story of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it is a really simple story. So it starts with a group of friends en route to their grandfather's grave. So you've got Sally and Franklin, and then their friends Jerry, Kirk and Pam. On their way, they pick up a creepy hitchhiker. He is the creepiest guy in the world. And the second he gets in their van, the movie takes a turn and you're going, I don't like this. He needs to go. And a couple of minutes later, they kick him out because he's fucking terrifying. They then decide to stop at the gas station to fill up before they go home. When they get to the gas station has run out of gas. And they're getting a delivery later, so they park up and they decide to go up to the old family home, their grandfather's home. They go up there, they park up, and they go and do some exploring. A little bit of unwanted trespassing on a neighbouring property later. They meet a family who have very little social skills, but do make up for that with incredible violence and a love of chainsaws. That's all I'm telling you. If you've not seen the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, stop listening to this review now and go and watch it right now. This movie is a must-see. This movie is outstanding in every possible way. I've got a bit of confession. I have not watched the Texas Chainsaw Massacre since the early 90s. And when I watched it, I was a lot younger than I am now, and it didn't do a great deal for me. And I think that's purely for the fact that it wasn't fast enough paced for me. But the pacing of this movie is perfect. The build to everything, every little thing is just building to the next. And when I was younger, I just wanted kill after kill after kill after kill after kill. And this movie doesn't do that. But when they do deliver kills and jump scares, oh my God, they're brutal. And they're so horrible that you just kind of go, oh my God. There's a bit where a character's hung on a meat hook. And it just affects you, and it really affected me in a really deep way. The other thing I want to talk a lot about in this is Marilyn Burns, who plays Sally. I think Marilyn Burns is the most underrated scream queen of all time. Her performance in this rivals anything from any other scream queen. It rivals Psycho. It rivals Halloween. It rivals all of them, and I don't think she gets the recognition that she deserves, and I want her to get that. I love this movie, and I'm sure you can hear from what I'm saying. I think this movie is incredible. Let's find out what you think in this week's 3-word reviews. Here's this week's 3-word reviews of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Creepy Crypt Keeper, frightfully pulse-pounding. Horror Cosplayer, so fucking badass. And TC Maz 1980, love, love, love. A little bit about our 3-word reviewers this week. Horror Cosplayer is over on Instagram. He's a horror cosplay account with a YouTube channel as well. We've got Creepy Crypt Keeper. I really get tangled with that. It's really hard to say quickly. Creepy Crypt Keeper over on Instagram is a horror account who shares loads of fantastic content. And TC Maz 1980 is over on Twitter. It's got a horror account dedicated to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Friday the 13th. Thank you very much to all 3 of our 3-word reviewers. A big thank you to TC Maz 1980. She's the first person from Twitter to appear in the 3-word review in quite a few weeks now. So she's really stepped it up for Twitter. Thank you very much to all 3, and that was this week's 3-word reviews. Running from Leatherface is about the most terrifying thing in the world. However, it wouldn't be as fucking scary if you were on an electric scooter that went almost 25 miles an hour. Remember that when you go on a trip somewhere. Get a scooter. Shockwheelz.com, discount code HOH sale and get £25 off. It will save you if you're chased.
I think we just picked up Dracula.
Let's talk some facts on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'm sure when you watch this film, you're going to notice that all of we'll call them the teens, so Sally Franklin, Jerry Kirk and Pam, all of them are terrified of Leatherface on their initial encounter. And there was a reason for that. So Gunnar Hansen, who plays Leatherface, is a pretty big guy. But they also put him in 3-inch heels to make him physically bigger than the rest of the cast. Now, that would be intimidating enough if they'd spent time with him and they were sort of having lunch with him and talking about the upcoming scenes, but 90% of the cast never met Gunnar and definitely never saw him in costume before their scene. So, for example, where you've got the scene where he opens the door onto, I think it's either Jerry or Kirk, I can never remember which one it is, but when he first opens that door, that initial shock is real because you've got this fairly well-built guy who has just been confronted by someone who's a good 5 inches taller than him and built like an absolute shed and in a mask that he'd never seen before. My reaction would be, fuck! And that comes across so well on screen, and I think that was a fantastic decision by Tobe Hooper to keep Gunnar Hansen and the rest of the cast separate. It worked so well. Now I'm going to get into a bit of Tobe Hooper's inspiration for this movie, and it's not a very normal story. So Tobe Hooper's inspiration for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre come from his Christmas shopping. I've paused to let that digest in your mind for a second. So Tobe Hooper is Christmas shopping. It's very, very busy and he's in a hardware store. He's looking outside at the crowds and he's looking up at the chainsaws and he's putting 2 and 2 together and going, that's a great way to get through the crowds. And that was the initial spark that made this movie happen. I don't know if you agree with me, but I think a chainsaw while Christmas shopping would be very, very useful. When they released this for test screenings, they had people walk out because they found it too horrifying and too scary. When Sally is chased through the undergrowth by Leatherface, she cut herself really, really badly. So Marilyn Burns cut her arms and legs really badly going through these bushes. Most of the blood you see on her clothes and herself in that scene was real. It was actually real blood. The narrator at the very, very start, John Larroquette, his payment for this was apparently 1 joint, which I suppose is the norm for the 70s. I need you to do a narration for me. Can I have a joint? No problem, there you go. Money-wise, this was a huge success. So they had a budget of 300,000. That was higher than their initial budget. The shoot overrun a little bit. They had lots of issues with the heat. They had scenes where they put out displays of food, as you'll see when you watch the movie, and it was going off and it was rotting because it was so hot when they were filming. So the budget was higher than they intended. It grossed $30 million. And still today is making money, hand over fist with merchandise and other bits. So money-wise, this was a huge success. Only one person is killed in this movie by a chainsaw, despite it being called the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And my final fact, which I think is probably my favourite fact because it ties into another director who wasn't involved and wasn't even a director when this was released, Guillermo del Toro. After watching this movie, del Toro became a vegetarian because it disturbed him so much. Those are this week's facts. I mentioned in facts how hot it was on the set of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it caused lots of issues, and they had cast members who had fatigue and various other bits, which, strangely enough, ties in lovely to today for me. It's currently 31 degrees where I'm sat recording, which for my US listeners, I think that's about 88, 89. That may not sound a high temperature if you live somewhere like Texas or Florida or somewhere like that. But for the UK, that is scorching, and I am literally melting while recording this episode. But it's time for me to introduce our guest. Our guest today is the creator of Zombie with a Shotgun, Mr. Hilton Ariel Ruiz. Hi Hilton, and welcome to the show.
Hey, what's going on? Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. No problem at all. I'm so pleased to have you on the show and to get your thoughts on Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but also find out a lot more about what you're doing at the moment. I caught on to you and the things you've done quite late. I was pretty late to the party. So it's only been sort of the last 6 months that I discovered Zombie with a Shotgun, and then Art of Erotica and Clans Rules, and from there I've kind of just gone down this rabbit hole of things you've created now.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, it's I guess the fact that being an indie artist is pretty can be hard to get out there, especially when you don't have the PR dollars and everything. But I'm happy that my work found you and you was able to watch it and support. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, definitely, and I think some of the stuff you've done is exceptional and very different to other things, especially with Zombie with a Shotgun. You took a well-known story and idea of how a zombie movie works and how it comes together, and you basically threw it all out the window and went, no, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to do my own thing. And I thought that was great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I definitely, and again, it's awesome that you can see that. It's awesome that you appreciate that, and coming into the genre that has been done, over and over, and not to say that's a bad thing, but it's such a great, subgenre, zombie / horror, and for me to take that zombie mythology and get people upset, because which I had got many people upset to saying, hey, you just taken the zombie mythology and you're not allowed to show that these zombies have feelings and they're like people and they think and everything. And it's okay. Of course, people just, they were really upset about it. I get it. People have, passion, a loyalty to that, of what we've known and to seeing Zombie with a Shotgun. And yes, I took that to a different sort of, avenue, and I, was happy to do it. You know, and again, you know, it definitely caught a lot of people's eye. Like, wait a minute, that just seems a little bit unconventional, very different, and you know, so and it definitely is the indie feel to it. And yeah, thank you.
Yeah, definitely, and I really enjoyed it. But we're going to talk a little bit more about that a bit later on. First of all, I want to have a quick chat about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, in my eyes, is a fantastic piece of work. It's a masterpiece of horror. So yeah, I'd love to get your thoughts on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Listen, you know, I think it's a masterpiece. It is so amazingly that if you can watch that film to this day, it still has the same effect. It has that effect where it looks like you're this like voyeur, you know, it has this like, you know, you're peeking into this, you know, world that that you have no idea what's going on. It has that documentary sort of feel and take on it that that you wouldn't have a film like that to stay even greenlit this time. You know, if you making taking a film like that, bring it to a studio, even if you bring it to like an indie sort of like slash studio where I don't think they would even think of even putting money into it at all. So that itself is you know, it's definitely a plus because you know you get a unique take of a story, a classic story, and hey, look, you know, it's just you know, it's weird that you know these days we're not really scared of anything anymore, right? We look at
No,
all
we're
the
not.
films, we're not, right? But there is something with Texas Chainsaw that still gives that heebie-jeebies in you. It gives you that creep effect. You know, there's nothing like that first time when you see Leatherface come out and that sound when he slams it. Boom. I mean, that was like, damn. You know, it's still the best film of somebody going to you know unmarked territory, somebody's home, and you know you have these films that you got somebody going into this house or this back alley and everything. It's still the best there. It's still it's unreal, you know. The ending is classic. There is this, you know, sort of like you know, unique and it's a quirky dance or whatever it is, but it's something about it that's like makes you, when you film finishes and the last frame comes on the screen, you're like, dude, what did I just see? Um,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing I think that got me is the all of the scares in it, because there's no real sort of musical score to it. There's some, but not much. So in a modern day horror, you get this kind of build up with the music, and you know it's going to come, and then it comes. Whereas in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it just comes.
yes, yes, absolutely, and it's just, hey, look, you know, it's I think it's one of the biggest inspiration. I mean, I'm not a horror guru, as in a cinema historian, but I may have to say that it possibility could be the very first film of like goreness, you know, having that gory kind of feel, you know, like, and I think if you're into gore filmmaker and gory horror filmmaking, I think that's a film that you have to look at. And that is like the you know, the modern father of gore horror, you know,
Yeah,
and I that is the film that you have to look at. It is the one that introduces what we consider gore horror. Again, I may be, you know, again, I'm not a historian into the horror genre. Maybe there is another film, but anything that has that sort of power on the title, you know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, the film is so powerful that the sequels, you know, let's keep it real. The sequels are not that great,
no,
but
no, they're
they're not
not,
they're
definitely.
not that great. They're entertaining. They have some sort of like, you know, quirky sexiness about it, but you know they're not that good. But that first one, it's so dynamite that that franchise still lives 40 plus years because of that one film, that first one, and we're still talking about it.
Yeah,
It sort of goes with The Exorcist, right? The Exorcist franchise. I mean, you know, they're two different horror films. Obviously, one is gore and one is just sort of like a literature taken from a literature piece. And but Exorcist sequels, you know, again, we have to admit they're not good. But that first one, unbelievable.
yeah, definitely. And I think there's something about movies that were made in the 70s. There was a lot of discovery done in the 70s. It was a case of how far can we push things.
I agree. I think the 70s, we all have the argument that the 80s can be the best decade of horror films, but it was the 70s that inspired to what make the films in the 80s was all about. And you're so right. There was this magical new feel of horror when the 70s came out, and that we've never seen before. And then the 80s just took that new sort of feel of horror and took it to the next step. Of course, we took it to a lot of different angles, but I totally agree. 70s horror, when those gems that we're talking about actually open the door to have the greatest decade of horror, which my opinion, think the 80s is the greatest horror decade, just for the fact that you would never ever see any of those projects be greenlit in Hollywood.
No, you wouldn't. And again, it's sort of the late 70s, early 80s was a time for horror where pretty much everything that was out there and pushing boundaries was given a green light, and it was, yeah, let's do it. And I don't think we will get that again. Sadly.
No, I don't think so either. I really don't. I mean, unless I just don't think so. No. And yeah, I mean, a lot of help back in the days is also, and one of the key things that why that wouldn't happen is because the cinema chains are run by corporate America, where back in the 70s and the 80s, there were a lot of mom and pops independent cinemas run by mom and pops, regular average Joe guys that running the business, and they were able to say, yeah, we'll take that film and we'll screen it, blah blah blah, and all that stuff, like the grindhouse films of the golden years of 42nd Street and all that stuff, and now all the cinema chains are owned by, again, big corporate companies, and they would never bring that in the cinema, and these films get lost in in streaming services also is run by corporate. They look at stuff like this, like, dude, we're not going to release that, you're crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
Ask the guest. We've had a question come in from one of our listeners directly for you, which is, what got you interested in horror, and when did that happen for you?
It's an interesting question, because I always, horror, of course, loved it. I do love every genre, but horror was, definitely a big thing growing up. Again, I did grow up in the 80s. And when I first started filmmaking, it was in the, early 90s. And during those time in the early 90s, if you guys all remember, horror was kind of like not there. People wasn't really paying attention to horror. It was the Brothers McMullen. It was the Pulp Fictions of the world. It was that new cinema that brought this new flavor of cinema that these young indie filmmakers with Miramax came in and taking all these indie films and bringing it into the stage, Starlight and everything. And so when I grew up during that time, always running with my colleagues and stuff like that, and I was sort of like the oddball guy out. If I came in and say, "Hey, let's make a horror film," they're all gonna look at me like, "What? We're trying to do the next Pulp Fiction here. What are you talking about?" So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna, do my thing, whatever I liked here too. And then it just came to me that, hey, look, I've never done and I played with it a lot, very experimental projects and stuff like that, but never really like said, let me take it where I really, put my whole energy and everything in it. So it had to be during the whole time during the web series starting getting popular in around 2010, 2011. Web series started getting really popular, and that's when I said, hey, this is the opportunity where I could go into horror and start doing, horror pieces and stuff like that. And I began by Zombie with a Shotgun, and also my other web series called 6666. And that's how it began. When I hit that around 2012, that's when the work of my horror work went viral. And that's when I said, oh man, what I've been waiting for, this is it. This is what I've been waiting for, this moment for so long. I waited, but it was worth it. It was, and it was, I guess, right timing also, where, social media's people of the indie world was able to promote their work without begging, other, companies and stuff like that. And that's where it made me come into horror. But that's basically, I always wanted to do it, and that's why I came upon and doing it. But it definitely, if to answer, I hope I answered the question, but I would, again, it's go into how 80s inspired me for, also for all the films and all the rental companies, VHS stores, and it was just, that was it. The cover in the box was always what attracted me, and I think attracted many people. And I think horror had the best VHS covers.
Oh,
And
definitely. Funnily enough, I was talking about this with a guest who's on an episode before you. And we were discussing the part of being going to a video store and actually spending that time was part of the movie. And
absolutely. They took that experience away from us. It was definitely it added that experience to the movie that we were going to watch or we chose or whatever. It was part of that, and now that experience is completely gone. And yeah, I mean, that is a golden era that would never exist ever again.
which is sad because it was almost like when you used to walk past the cinema, you'd see all the billboards up. It was like that on a grander scale for
Yep.
you to go in and you could browse hundreds and hundreds of movies. And I know you can do it on Netflix and Prime and Tubi and everything else, but it's not the same because you do that in your living room. You're not getting up and making a purpose trip to go and pick a film.
Absolutely. And it's not like an event you make with your friends, or even when you was by yourself, it was still cool. But that experience, I'm going to Blockbuster, I'm going to my local VH store. It was just an experience, and it was a great experience. It brought that excitement. I'm gonna buy food, I'm gonna buy snacks, I'm gonna get this movie, and I'm gonna come home. I'm gonna either watch it with my friends, my family, my girlfriend, boyfriend, or whatever, and sit down and enjoy a film.
Definitely. I mean, you've done Zombie with a Shotgun, which, as I said, I come to the party late on that, and I'm disappointed it took me so long to find it. What have you got planned next? Because Zombie with a Shotgun was a viral sensation and picked up a huge following.
Absolutely.
What have you got planned moving forward?
Yes. So, we again, we started again 2012 for a web series, and that's when we went viral. And, I'm not even gonna lie to you, when it went viral 2012, and then we had 13 and 14 because we were still in the episode, I actually thought it would die out. I didn't think it would continue even to this day. So I was like, okay. And I also did another web series with 66, which also was popular, but it was Zombie with a Shotgun that everybody was going really crazy for. They always wanted to know more about. So as the years went by, I'm like, oh man, there's this fan base just keeps on building. This is what I'm meant to do. This is something that I have to take the responsibility for, me being a filmmaker, to get to the next level, and just will do it. So thinking that, with the whole, viral, and the whole, write-ups, and the publications and everything that was going on, I was hoping that somebody would come in and help me out, and like, hey, look, we want to come in and put monies into your project, and we can, do a co-production company and take Zombie with a Shotgun to the next level. And yeah, there were people that did come by, but they were trying to take the idea, not giving me the opportunity to work with them. It was like almost, "Hey, let me take your idea and goodbye." I always say, my famous saying, or my popular saying is, you know, uh, they'll come in my farm, and they'll just give me a pig, or a cow, and they take my farm away without me working. So I was trying to find that. I was trying to find that whole, um, you know, um, that partnership to come in. So it didn't come quick enough. So I started doing the comics, and I was very lucky that Simone, who's a great comic book artist, very popular with drawing for Image Comics and tie in with his popular series. Him and I bonded together and we started a comic book series, and we think that that would also help bring in this new partnership. And again, yes, we did get, and I did get people coming along, but again, it was the same story. Look, we're going to take it and you'll just sit down and we'll show you how we're going to do it. But I was like, no, I mean, I built this whole fan base, I built this whole thing that I felt that was um I felt like, I created it. It was my baby. I'm not going to let nobody just take it. I mean, I would love to work with them, but no one really wanted me to come in there and work with them. So I said, screw it. I'll do my own campaign, and which I did. And, it took a couple years to raise, and we shot the film. It took 3 years to shoot the film. We released it November 28th of 2019. Unfortunately, 3 months later, that pandemic happened, and boom, there was, we were expecting to go to conventions and all this stuff, and here we go, it's done. So now that we're at the tail end of the pandemic, me and the producer kept talking about, hey, you know what? We always wanted to do the sequel. We always said we're going to give 2 years till we go to the sequel. I said, even though the pandemic, put a little bit stain onto the whole project, we should still go for it. And so, like last month, I announced on my Patreon page that I was going to do the sequel, and that I was going to, get help out with people come onto the Patreon page to raise money for the sequel. And it's been a month, and it's so amazing that the fans came out, and they all, there's a lot of people supporting, and everyone, coming on and saying yes, we love to, and that's what we're doing right now. At the moment is trying to get this new sequel out.
Yeah, and I think because you've created something that let's be honest, did break all the rules.
Yes.
You broke all the rules, and you kind of you done something that I really like. You kind of you looked at the genre, you looked what was happening, you kind of went, that's great, but fuck you, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to do this because this is what I want to do. And I think, I know me as a fan, I appreciate the fact that you've gone, I'm not going to just follow the basic mold that everyone else does. I want to do something different. And I think that's why people do support you and will continue to support you, because you do what you want. And if I'm honest, you're doing what the fans want, which is what we all want, is something new.
No, absolutely. And again, I have to appreciate that you can see that, again, there was again, a lot of people supported the project and came out and everything, but then there was the other people that were really upset that I broke those rules, and that was what I was intending to do also. When I wanted to do, and when I first started the web series, I said, hey, why we just don't do a point of view of a zombie who's sick? Let's care about the guy that's sick. Let's find out about his life. Why we just don't care about that? In society, that's how we really do things, really. When the person is sick or anything, with such a disease, we're so heebie-jeebied about them, and we just and we don't. But that person has family. That person has loved ones, and so why not we? And and I always felt also the thing about zombies is like, and I always say this also, in 1984 or 83 or what year it was when Michael Jackson did Thriller, he broke that. No one really talks about it, but he actually broke the rules. Him and John Landis, they came together, came with an idea, and said, let's have a zombie dance and think and do things, and came out the most successful music video in history. I mean, we could argue about that also, but it's one that has to be up there. And after that video came out, the zombies went back to the whole brains and slowness and zombies. And I'm like, how come no one's really like brought that evolution out? Like the evolution of zombies, and why not have them think and love? And so that's what I wanted to do. And again, I will tell you, I've never in a million years would ever think that even creating the web series, I'll be talking to you about it almost 10 years about it. And that's the amazing thing. It's just incredible how just, again, think that it would die out. It never did. And it's again, I appreciate that you see that, and and thank you.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, how can my listeners go and support you?
Absolutely. Definitely your listeners, if they are horror / zombie fans, obviously, your thing has the word Halloween, but I always tell people, to give you a little bit of song of dance right here before, I tell you where you could help out, is that, you know, um, if they Google zombie with a shotgun and first episode, they can watch on YouTube. It's about 4 minutes and change. They can see that, and if they like that, they can watch actually the feature, which is available on Amazon Prime and Tubi for free, which is amazing. You just go on that site. You don't have to log in or sign in, and you can watch the film for free. And I just feel like Zombie with a Shotgun is that film that this whole pandemic we've been run by the system, right? We've been told what to do, what to watch, what to see, how to think, and how film should be seen, and how actors should be seen, and what we should do, and everything. And Zombie with a Shotgun is that film. And I think now that we're coming to the tail end, that this film is the one that tells everybody again, like the first one, we're breaking the rules. We're not doing what the system is telling us to do. We're doing something different, something creative. But now nobody telling us what to do, and it's supporting Zombie with Shotgun is like supporting something that's against the system that's been telling us what to do in the last 2 years. And you could go on my Patreon page. It's under Hilton Ariel Ruiz, which is my whole full name. And starting at $3, you can help out on supporting the sequel. And we just started a month, and we're doing well. And and that's an amazing thing too, because, and that's another story that I want to tell you too, is that when I started the Patreon page, I said, let me go on and let's do it. Let's go for it. I know it may be bad timing, but I really feel it's right timing. We're coming at the tail end of this. And then, so what happened is that when I started the Patreon page, I wouldn't believe the hundreds and hundreds of messages that came out and said, oh my God, I saw Zombie with a Shotgun. I loved it. I'm going to support you. I'm so happy you're doing the sequel. And that made me feel good because, in the last year and a half to 2 years, there was silence. It was everybody was, fear of life, of what was going to happen next in our lives, our careers, our jobs. And we didn't know how this pandemic was going to end. And here is, like all these people came out, and just there I knew, I was like, you know what? This is the right timing. I got everybody messaging me. And a lot of people saying, hey, I don't have money to support you, but I want you to succeed. And by helping you, I'm going to spread the word. I'm going to retweet your stuff. I'm going to put it in my Facebook. And if that helps you try to make help you make the sequel, and I will tell them, thank you. It will, everything. And anything would help. And it's a pretty good feeling to know all these people that came out, that a lot of the fans now coming out, because we are sort of the tail end of this pandemic. But again, fans could go into my Patreon page. You could also go on Zombie with a Shotgun on my Twitter and Instagram page. You can see my updates, and you'll be able to see I'm on a daily basis on Twitter, promoting my page and talking about my page. And anybody, the fans, can send me a message to Twitter and follow me, and I'll follow them back.
And you do, and you talk to your fans as well, which is something that not a lot of people do.
No, they don't. And I really tell people, and it is pretty cool, because a lot of the fans, like, when I answer them, like, wow, I can't believe you answered me. And I was like, absolutely. I'm look, I'm an indie filmmaker, and I try to be the people's filmmaker. I try to tell people, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Is it true? I have no connections to nothing, I have no nepotism with anything. And obviously, I'm such an indie, filmmaker. I'm an indie artist doing everything I possibly can do with myself, again, without the system. And I just tell everybody, look, man, you can do it. Don't let anybody tell you can't do it. And that's why I talk to a lot of the fans, and they do appreciate that,
I think a lot of people, because I get it as well with the podcast, where people will message me and I will reply. And I think they half expect to get like an automated message to sort of say, thank you very much for your email, or thank you very much for your message. But when it's me, they're like, oh, hello. And they're almost surprised that I'm talking to them.
Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, it is right. It's a good feeling too, because then you feel like you're relevant out there. You feel like, okay, I always say, oh, you're the one, huh? You're the only one listening. It's always a joke. I always tell and they say, oh, I saw your
I do
film.
as well. And the crazy thing is, I don't know how many of of my listeners and people who are fans of the show, and I'm sure you are the same, who don't realise that the tiniest thing that they do can make a huge impact just by telling somebody else about the project that you're working on. Can make a massive impact just by that word of mouth, that one conversation of, hey, have you listened to the podcast? Or, hey, have you seen Zombie with a Shotgun? That simple 1 second conversation can make a huge difference to you and me.
No, I agree. It definitely makes a big difference.
Yeah, definitely. We have got a quiz on the show, which I know you're aware of, which is Horror, Not Horror. So the way the quiz works is I've got 10 quotes from movies. For 1 point, you need to tell me if they're from a horror movie or not from a horror movie. And then you can get an additional point if you can tell me what movie they're from.
Okay.
So there's a maximum of 20 points, 2 points per question. Are you ready to give the quiz a go?
Absolutely.
Cool. Right, here we go. Quote number 1. We're friends to the end. Remember that.
A Deadly Friend?
No, it's not. It was a horror. It was Chucky. Child's Play.
Fuck, dude. Oh, shit. How could I not know that? I mean, oh, my God. I'm overthinking it, saying he's trying to trick me here, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, there's no trick questions. Okay, number 2. I can take. I'll start again. I apologise. I can take no pleasure in killing. There's just some things you got to do. Don't mean you have to like it.
Ooh.
Is that a horror or not a horror?
I would say non-horror.
It was Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Gosh. How can I?
Right.
That's a strike on me. That should be 2 strikes on me, but go ahead.
It's fine. They're really hard. This is one of those things that when I tell you the film, you can go, oh, shit, I know exactly the scene and you can see it.
Yes. Go for it. Let's go.
Right. Let's go. Number 3. They may take our lives, but they will never take our freedom.
That's not a horror.
It's not a horror. Do you know what movie it's from?
It sounds like Independence Day.
It's not. It's Braveheart.
Braveheart. Okay.
Next one, number 4. Take them to the lab, get them tested and processed immediately.
That's horror.
It is a horror. What movie is that from?
That's Zombie with a Shotgun.
It is Zombie with a Shotgun. You'd have been devastated had you not got that one. Okay, number 5. Where there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth.
I was going to say horror.
It is a horror. Do you know which one?
I want to say Night of the Living Dead.
Oh, close. It was Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead. Okay.
Next one is Houston, we have a problem.
Oh my God! It could be any kind of film. I'm going to say non-horror.
It's not a horror. Do you know what film it might be?
I don't know. Armageddon?
No, it was Apollo 13. Okay, number 7. I'll Never Let Go, Jack.
Horror. What do you say?
It was not horror. It was from Titanic.
Wow, I'm not doing good. But go ahead.
It's okay. You're doing okay. You got 5 so far, and you got 3 questions to go. So number 8 is Say Hello to My Little Friend.
Oh yeah, well, Scarface, non-horror.
Okay, perfect. Next one is I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to smash your brains in.
Oh, that's horror. Shining.
Okay, you're on a roll now.
Yeah.
Final one, number 10. Who died and made you king of the fucking zombies?
It's horror.
It is a horror.
I would say Return of the Living Dead.
It wasn't Shaun of the Dead.
Oh shit. Okay.
No, you've got a respectable score. You scored a 10.
Okay. All right.
It's a good score. You've had a good crack at that. I'm so pleased you got Zombie with a Shotgun. When I sat down and I wrote the questions, I was writing that one down going, Oh, this could go really horribly wrong if he gets it wrong.
Could be wrong. It would be almost like, you know what, I gotta go. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on and recording with me. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
And I'm going to say to all of my listeners now, go and follow Zombie with a Shotgun on Instagram and on Facebook. Support if you can on the Patreon. If you can't, retweet, share, get the word out for Zombie with a Shotgun too. And go and watch Zombie with a Shotgun if you've not already seen it. Don't be like me and wait till the time I did and be really late to the party. Go and watch it now and you will enjoy it. I really, really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you so much. You're never late to the party, though. It's always welcome. There's always the party. It's always beginning watching the film.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much for coming on, Hilton.
Thank you.
It's been great.
Likewise.
If I have any more fun today, I don't think I'm going to be able to take it.
A huge thank you to Hilton for coming on the show today. I'm really, really grateful that he came on and he shared his thoughts on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, told us all about Zombie with a Shotgun, and obviously now the plans for the sequel to Zombie with a Shotgun. I said how much I liked that film to Hilton during the podcast, and that genuinely was not me blowing smoke up his arse. I really, really enjoyed Zombie with a Shotgun. I would ask you all to do me a favour now, if you can. Go to Tubi or go to Amazon, search for Zombie with a Shotgun, and give it a watch. And make your own mind up for it. And if you really enjoy it and you'd like to see a sequel and you can support Hilton, then do. If you don't have money to support him on his Patreon, then go and follow him and share some of his posts about what he's doing. And little things like that really, really, really help. They really do. I'm going to say something quite controversial now, and I'm going to be very careful how I word this as not to end in trouble. I didn't say this when I was interviewing Hilton because I didn't want to put him in a difficult position, but I'm going to say it and I'm going to word it very, very carefully. Hilton mentioned that he wanted the audience to care about the zombie and that to be something that was almost the heart of the story, is caring about this person who's sick. Now, recently there has been a movie that has been released that is treats zombies in a very, very similar way. Now, I'm not going to say that they ripped Hilton's idea off, but I am going to say that I'm convinced they took ideas that Hilton may have come up with. I'm not going to name the movie, but it's not going to take a rocket scientist to work it out. I think Hilton come up with this idea, they saw how good it was, and they took that and implanted that into their incredibly long, recently released zombie movie. And I know that's really controversial, and I probably shouldn't have said it, but I'm going to say it. And I didn't put Hilton in that position because I didn't want him to have to go, no, that's all original, because I don't think it is. That's my controversy for today. No more of that. I don't want to end up in trouble or with a lawsuit. What I want to do now is quickly thank everyone who makes this show possible. A huge thank you to Madman Audio for all of the music he provides. Another big thank you to Hilton for coming on the show. He really is a great guy, and if you can help him, please do. I want to thank everyone who contributed to this week's 3-word review. And we got a Twitter one. Yes, get in. Thank you, TC Maz. That's amazing. All we need now is the people on Facebook to start giving us 3-word reviews. And I might be able to do one from Instagram, one from Twitter, and one from Facebook each week, which would be amazing. Also, a huge thank you to the provider of the Ask the Guest question this week. I just can't get over the fact that this show has grown as it has. And I mentioned it on the Chucky episode, so I'm not going to bore you with going into it again. But I really am grateful, and thank you very much for helping us get to where we are. We've not had a voicemail for a while now. If you are listening and you would like to get your voice on the air and have something to say, an opinion on something, you want to pick up that I've missed a fact or that I gave you an incorrect fact or anything like that. Literally anything. What you done at the weekend? Did you have a barbecue? Was it nice? How are you doing? Do you enjoy the show? Do you not enjoy the show? Whatever you want to say, you have the ability to do it. So go to anchor.fm. That's anchor as in the thing that you drop off a boat to hold it still. Anchor.fm/Home of Halloween. That will take you to our homepage, which has got all of our episodes on it that you could listen to. And it's also got a little message button there. If you click on the message button, it will let you record a voicemail. It can be anything you want. Record us a voicemail. I will play it on the air and I will respond to whatever you say. So it's there for another way for you to control the You Run podcast, because that's what this is. It's your show to run. A huge thank you to everyone who's involved in the show, everyone who contributes, everyone who listens. I love all of you. Next week, I am reviewing a movie that I never thought would win the poll, and I'm so thrilled it did. I will be reviewing A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. And I'll catch you all for that next week.
You want to die tonight?